Hello, today I will show you how to get a 3D model, prepare it for printing, start the print, and remove the finished model from the print bed. When an idea comes up for a required prototype, part, or anything else you need to print, there are several options. One option is to create the object yourself. One such program is Tinkercad, which uses simple shapes that you can combine to get the desired part. However, keep in mind that these are fairly primitive parts, and achieving curved or wavy shapes is quite difficult. The second option is Fusion 360, which is also free, but here you already need drafting knowledge. Using YouTube you can, of course, learn it, but expect that it will take several dozen hours before you can create complex parts. Another option is to find a ready-made prototype. If the device that requires this part is popular, someone has likely already created the part online. Similarly, if the device is popular and the issue occurs often, you can likely find the part in one of the model libraries. You can find out more about these libraries on Google or YouTube. Once you open one of these libraries, simply type the device model into the search bar. In this case, as an example, I am using the IKEA pegboard because it comes with very few mounting types out of the box, but people have designed all kinds of mounts for filament spools, scissors, various small items, interesting hooks, anything that comes to mind. You can most likely find it here. Designing these parts yourself would take several hours, but here they are already done. When you open a part, it is important to read the comments, which often mention various details about the model. In this case, some issues are noted. Another important detail when using models made by others is to check the remixes. A remix means someone has already used and improved the part. As we can see, the mounting issues have been improved here, and a remix has also been created for multiple pairs of scissors. This is a great thing because the original issues have already been fixed, and once you find the model you are looking for, you can view the part in 3D and of course download it. In most of these libraries the models are free, but there are restrictions. You can use them for free as long as you don't use them for commercial activities, for example selling them on stock sites or other platforms. As an example, I typed in a popular Logitech game controller, just the model. As you can see, the most common issues that happen with this controller are shown, and people have already designed the parts that break, so if the device is popular, the first thing you should do is check the ready-made libraries before starting to draw it yourself. Another detail, often these parts can also be searched on Aliexpress. For example, I typed in HP laptop, and you can see that people have designed various mounts, stands, and other items for the computer. It is also crucial before creating a prototype to check Aliexpress or other websites like eBay or Amazon to see if the part is already available as a Chinese copy. It will be much cheaper, easier, and usually of much better quality. We only start creating a prototype in the final stage when it is impossible to find. Once the prototype is found or designed and exported into one of the formats supported by the slicer program, which is required to prepare the 3D object for the printer in a print-ready format. For U-printer, I use the Bambu Studio Slicer, but you can use any other, which support your 3D printer. When the program is open, we can go to Prepare or click New Project in the Start window. Then using this button we select our model. In this case I will take the mentioned scissor holder for the IKEA pegboard as an example. It is important to look at how this part is positioned automatically. We need to understand how the printer prints. The printer prints from the bottom up in layers like this. Anything floating in the air cannot be printed by the printer at that point. If the printer starts printing here, the extruded filament will drop down, and the part will fail. To make it work, you need to go to the settings and find the supports section. We need to enable them. In this case, there are two choices, tree-like or normal. In any case, select auto, because manually choosing where to place them would be too complicated. Supports come in two types, as I mentioned. Normal supports, which are built uniformly from the bottom up to support the part that needs to be printed, and tree supports, which consume less filament. They grow like a tree. That's why the base is narrower at first, and then it branches out to the support areas. The letters here are a good example. If the angle isn't steep, the printer can print the shape. But if the angle is 90 degrees or more than 45 degrees, the shape will most likely fail. In this case, you can see that the supports hold up the parts floating in the air. However, it's essential to note that these letters could be laid flat to print, and supports wouldn't be needed at all. That way the printer would print the part faster and wouldn't waste so much plastic. In this case, once supports are selected, we can choose tree or normal. Since this is a small part, normal supports work too and carry a lower risk of failure. Once supports are selected for the part and it is positioned with as few supports as possible, we click Slice to divide the part into a format the printer understands. It will show you how long the part will take to print, in this case 16 minutes, and how much filament will be needed. On the right panel, you can preview the part layer by layer. As we can see in the empty space that the printer wouldn't be able to print, a support is being generated. We can see it attaches, and then the actual part, the functional piece, begins. At the bottom we can preview how the printer nozzle will move. This window also shows all the coordinate commands for the printer to produce the part. The printer will receive over 23,000 commands from this file. Another important detail, returning to the Prepare section to make other adjustments, is the strength of the part. For standard parts like these that don't hold massive loads, 2 outer walls are enough. If you need to screw something into it, you can set 4 to 6 walls. Similarly, an infill of 15 to 25% is sufficient for such parts. An important factor determining strength is the infill pattern. The infill pattern affects structural properties, compression, deformation, and various other parameters. Each of these types has its pros and cons. If you need to print something very specific, you can compare these types by searching on YouTube, where all parameters are compared, flexibility, compression, and other factors. Another point about infill. Parts are almost never printed at 100% infill. Usually, if you need a very strong part, 35 to 45% infill is used. If the part is mostly visual or a small bracket, 20 to 25% infill is enough. Another critical detail is understanding which direction the force or load will be applied to the part. If we printed this part like this and the scissors hung downward vertically, the part would likely break at this point under a heavier load. This is related to how the printer works. When laying down layer upon layer, if the load comes from the side, the layers snap apart. If the part is oriented horizontally, the layers flex under the load without breaking easily. This picture illustrates it well. If the load comes from the side and it was printed from the bottom up, the part will snap at the weakest link. If we print this part lying flat, the layer remains continuous through the weakest point, and the part won't break. That's why it is always important to think about how we will print the part. In this case, if we printed the part this way, heavy scissors or calipers could cause this weak point to snap. Therefore, we print it like this, so that through the area bearing all the load, the fiber or layer remains continuous. This section will bend under strain rather than snap. Of course, under excessive force it will break, but it will be significantly stronger than if printed incorrectly. Let me show an example with a more complex part regarding supports. You always need to inspect it yourself. In this case, printing this part directly would cause several problems. All these screw holes hanging in the air won't print, because filament cannot float in mid-air. All these holes, this one, and this one, would be ruined during printing. As shown before, we activate supports in the menu. Select normal or tree. It doesn't change things drastically. And click slice to see the supports. In the case of tree supports, they look like trees with branches supporting all the problem areas. A normal support might even be better here, because it builds directly beneath the required area rather than from the side. When printing a part like this, breaking off the supports afterward creates quite a bit of plastic waste. That's why you should always check if the model can be rotated differently. In this case, there are a few more details mentioned by a colleague who already made a prototype. The screw mount areas are very weak. In cases where a specific section of a part needs to be stronger, we don't set the entire part to a high infill. We don't set it to 45% or 50% and fill the entire piece with plastic. Instead, we reinforce only that specific area using the Add Modifier function. Here we select a suitable shape. In my case, it will be a box, which I resize to the required length to apply different settings to this area. I return to the Settings panel, where I can apply properties to the object or the edit element. I set this area to 45% infill and 6 wall loops instead of 2, because screw holes will be located here. After that, I slice the object to see the total print time and required filament. Now, using the layer preview, we can see that the section requiring reinforcement will be printed significantly stronger. First, it will have more wall layers to hold the screws, along with denser infill. Since the rest of the walls don't need to bear significant loads, we save plastic without sacrificing aesthetics. Once the model is prepared for printing, we choose to export either the whole plate or the file. Depending on whether there are multiple files, in this case there is one file, we click Export and save the file onto the memory card. Here is a good example where the printer positioned the part like this. If we print it this way, even with supports, these curved features will turn out messy and asymmetrical. That's why it's better to lay parts like this flat. This part is also more functional than load-bearing, and by printing it flat, the filament fills from the bottom, leaving the top surface looking clean. An important detail: if you need to print multiple parts, print one first. If that part turns out as planned, you can fill the plate with more parts. If you place various parts across the plate, select them all and use the Arrange function, which positions the parts in the most efficient layout for the printer. This saves time by avoiding unnecessary print head movements, allowing you to print the required quantity in a single run. But remember, always print one piece first. If it succeeds, then print multiple pieces. Once the file is saved to the memory card, we can go to the printer and turn it on using the power strip behind it. Wait for the printer to turn on, then insert the memory card into the printer. Before starting a print, I always check whether the print bed is clean. Someone might have printed their part and left it behind. In that case, find the person who printed it and ask them to clear the surface for you. If you look into the printer and the surface is clean, you can move to starting the print. Starting a print is very simple. Tap Print File, select the memory card, and choose the file you need to print. In this case, the printer displays a visual preview, so the file name doesn't matter as much. Once the part is selected, we can uncheck bed leveling and nozzle calibration to save time, but it is important to leave them enabled if the print bed surface was removed or moved. Changes in position can ruin the model. Keep in mind that the nozzle diameter is 0.4 mm, so even the smallest variance can affect print quality. The printer will also display how long the part will take to print and how much filament is required. Next, press Next, and select the filament. In our case, 3 different filaments are loaded at the top, but the 2 white ones on the sides are lower quality, meant for prototyping. If this is your first attempt, feel free to use one of the white colors. Since this is our final prototype version, we will use the black filament, which is the highest quality among those available, and press print. At this point, the printer will start printing, and you can set a timer on your phone for 49 or 50 minutes to return and collect your printed part. If you need a part printed faster, you can increase the speed in the printer settings. By default, it runs at standard speed, but using sport speed won't cause any visible issues with print quality. When the part is finished, the printer will display print complete. Press OK, and you can remove your part. It is best to wait 5 to 10 minutes for the printer to cool down before removing the part. This makes it easier to remove without damaging it. Sometimes you can remove a part once it cools, but in this case the part is relatively large and stuck quite well. Lift the magnetic plate upward and carefully pull it out. The best way to remove printed material is to flex the plate slightly, and the part will detach on its own. In this case, these parts are still warm, making it a bit harder, and the supports don't make the process any easier. Remember to clean up after yourself once printing is complete. Remove filament remnants from the nozzle calibration lines. They are easy to scrape off using one of the nearby scrapers, and clean all corners, as we don't know where the next part will be print. When using a sharp scraper, be extra careful not to damage the magnetic print bed. Once the plate is clean, slide it back in with the narrower tab facing toward the back. The reinsertion process is very easy. Push the plate in until it stops against the 2 plastic guides, then lower it carefully, and the magnets will pull it into place. Everything is now set for the next print. Here you can clearly see our previously prepared part and how it looks printed. The supports need to be carefully broken off. As you can see, this is the amount of support material used for this part, and it cannot be reused. That's why you should always consider how to position a part to minimize support material, or see if you can avoid supports altogether. If a part is complex and cannot be oriented in the slicer, to minimize supports, you can split the part into 2 pieces. This way the part can be printed without any supports at all. Furthermore, using supports can lower surface quality. By printing both parts separately without supports, you simply glue them together afterward. Filament glues together very easily, and superglue holds exceptionally well. So, always analyze your design. If it's particularly complex, see if it can be split into multiple elements and glued together later. Don't forget to turn off the printer after use. Good luck printing, and if you have any questions, you know where to find me.